few minutes about my thinking problem. All right. My thinking problem today is much better than it used to be, and therefore my life is much better than it used to be. You know, when I began this spiritual quest, which has been a long time now, 33 years, my thinking was killing me, all right? And I didn't know it. I didn't realize it. You know, we are creative beings, all right? And what do I mean by that? I mean, and much more so than we realize, in a much more immediate and direct sense than you can understand, and you probably do understand right now. Certainly more than I understood when I got here, when I started this journey, I should say. We create our own reality, moment by moment, day by day, and I did not know that. I had the feeling when I started this journey, when I started out in a spirit, seeking to live a spiritual life by spiritual principles, I had the feeling I was very miserable and unhappy. That's why I was seeking an answer. I had the feeling that my unhappiness and misery was caused by external forces. You know, people not acting right, the world not treating me right, yada, 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 on and on. But it came from out there. I had to come to see that it wasn't, my misery and unhappiness was not coming from any external place. It was coming from within. I was creating it moment by moment, day by day. The simple fact is, and I did not know this, I had no idea about it, that I had at that time and have today, the kind of life that a person like me has, period. You know, every human being, you listening to me, have the kind of life that you have because you are the person that you are. You can certainly have a different life, but you have to change. You have to become a different person. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Meaning that if I continue to think the way I've always thought, and therefore I will act the way I've always acted and react the way I've always reacted, I'll continue to get the same results I always got. If nothing changes, nothing changes. It's an inside job. I have to change from the inside out. Meaning and things I learned as I went along, everything is determined and starts with my thinking, how I think. I did not understand that. But again, it doesn't matter whether you understand it or not, whether you like it or not. You are creating your own misery moment by moment, or you're creating your own bliss and happiness moment by moment. You know, so until you get hip to that fact, nothing's going to change. And the sooner you get hip to that fact, the sooner things can start getting better. We have many spiritual tools laid out at our feet available to us. By spiritual tools, I mean simple spiritual principles. There are certain principles that the universe operates on, and you're either in sync with them or you're going against them. And if you're going against them, it hurts like a son of a bitch. All right, it's very uncomfortable. And that's what I was doing every day of my life without even realizing it, you know? So like I said, the sooner you wake up, the better for you and other people around you. You know, I as we all do, I affected everybody around me. In that case, back when I was real sick, negatively. You know, it's the way we think about things that determines our attitude, our perspective, our which determines everything else. So just take a simple example, driving in traffic. I always use this example because most people can relate. When I started, just for me to drive from here to the store and back was a miserable experience, because I made it that way because everybody on the road was not driving the way I thought they should drive. If somebody got in my lane and oh my God, he cut me off, the son of a bitch. I'd be lucky to get there without getting into some kind of fight with somebody. I mean, it was insane. Cussing and swearing and fussing and just, oh my goodness. When I embarked on this new life, and had took another look at that situation, all the situations in my life, we're talking about driving, I realized there's another way to look at this, another way to think about this. These are public roads. Everybody's got a right to use them. Take your place and quit fucking complaining. And, people got a right to drive the way they want to drive. It's their life, their car. Get over it, dude. And I began to relax and enjoy the drive. You get there when you get there and stop getting angry every 2 seconds, every 5 minutes, going off the handle because some idiot ain't driving. They're not idiots. They're driving the way they feel safe and comfortable driving. Leave them alone. They're not your problem, unless you want to make them your problem. This is our thinking again. And it affects everything. The way I looked at my children, the way I looked at everything changed as my thinking changed. Before I started to put spiritual principles into my life and think honestly and look at things honestly, my kids were, oh my God, they're a pain in the ass. They're fucking, I wish they'd just go to bed. Totally self-centered, selfish thinking. When it began to change, I realized, oh my God, they're beautiful. They're a kick in the ass. They're so funny. They're so much fun. And I fell in love with them, and I began to thoroughly enjoy them. And they had a happy childhood, a good childhood, and grew up to be fine men. That would not have been the case if my thinking had stayed sick and diseased as it was when they were first born. The first couple of years of their lives, it would not have been turned out as beautiful as it turned out. So you see what I'm talking about when I say we're created beings. We are not only create our own misery or happiness, but we affect other people. If I had spent their whole childhood thinking what a pain in the ass they were, ignoring them and inadvertently being mean to them, I'm sure they would have turned out very different than they did. So we affect everybody. And the crux of it all, I learned as I went along, is our thinking. That's, we say, or it is said, greater is he that conquers himself than he that conquers the world. Conquering yourself means learning to discipline and control your thinking, eliminate the negative, garbage, useless thinking, and cultivate the good, positive, constructive, grateful, humble thinking, all right? The true thinking. Get rid of the false and live in the truth of the light. As you do this, it reflects in your whole world. You create an entirely different world. So how do we do that? One of the best tools I've ever come across is this essay by Emmett Fox. I love Emmett Fox. If you don't read Emmett Fox, you should. I'm talking about getting rid of the negative thinking and changing to better thinking, healthier thinking. He says this. He says, first of all, what do I mean by negative thinking? Well, a negative thought is any thought of failure, disappointment, or trouble, any thought of criticism or spite or jealousy, or condemnation of others or self-condemnation, any thought of sickness, accident, in short, any kind of limitation or pessimistic thinking. That describes totally what was in my head when I got here. I was always judging everybody, putting everybody down, and of course that boomerangs where I'm living in self-condemnation and, you know, flat out self-loathing is what I was filled with when I got here, all due to my wrong thinking. And I should say this, what he's after in this essay, what he lays out in the first few pages is a plan, a method where you will change your thinking, change the direction of your thinking. He says for 7 days in a row, you will watch what you think about and eliminate all useless negative thoughts and focus on only good and positive true thoughts. And if you can manage to do that for 7 days in a row, which I've never done, by the way, I've never got all the way through 7 days, but just the exercise of doing an honest effort at it will change. And he says if you can do it for 7 days in a row, your thinking will be permanently bent in a better direction. And I know that's true. I haven't done this but my thinking is definitely through this and other things been bent in a better direction, a totally better, positive direction. So he says that's what negative thinking is. The second, you must be quite clear that what this scheme calls for is that you shall not entertain or dwell upon negative things. Note this carefully. It's not the thoughts that come to you that matter, but only such of them as you choose to entertain or dwell upon. It is the entertaining or dwelling upon them that matters. Of course, many negative thoughts will come to you all day long. Some of them will just drift into your mind, seeming of their own accord. Other negative thoughts will be given to you by other people, either in conversation or by their conduct. You'll hear disagreeable news. You will, and this is not in here, but you will find a lot of negativity on social media. I'd be very careful in my use of social media if I were you. The thing to do is directly the negative thought presents itself, turn it out. Turn away from the newspaper, or the Facebook, or the stupid remark, or whatnot. When the negative thought floats into your mind, immediately turn it out and think of something else. This is the key, isn't it? Think of something else. If I tell you not to think about the Statue of Liberty, what are you going to think about? You'll be thinking about the Statue of Liberty. You have to learn to substitute a better thought, and you have to do it immediately, all right? Immediately. I do not, at this stage in my life, I can honestly say I don't allow negative thoughts to even form. The millisecond that they begin to form, I'm usually able to redirect my thinking that quick. I mean, so fast it didn't even become a formed thought. I look at somebody, God is so good to me. God is so good to me. And that's one of the thoughts I frequently have many times during the day. He gives this, he says, turn it out, think of something else. A perfect analogy is furnished by the case of a man who's sitting by an open fire. I love this. When a red-hot cinder flies out and falls on his sleeve, if he knocks the cinder off at once without a moment's delay to think about it, no harm is done. But if he allows it to rest on him for a single moment under any pretense, the mischief is done. And it will be a troublesome task to repair that sleeve. So it is with a negative thought. A troublesome task to get my comfortability back, my serenity back, if I've allowed myself to wander off into what an asshole this guy is, or how wrong this is, or what a big problem this is. No. We talk about in the famous, beautiful Serenity Prayer, acceptance to serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, courage to change the things I can. This is what we're talking about. I can't change you. I can't change the world. I can't change what's going to happen today, circumstances that will arise. I can't change them. I can accept them and deal with them as best I can. What I can change, courage to change the things I can, is my thinking. All right? I will not engage and indulge in useless, negative, nasty, hateful thinking. I just won't do it. I don't have to do it. You can't make me do it. And I won't do it. And that's where we learn not to give other people power over us, other people to set up shop in our head. We do that by giving them the power, by getting mad, through our anger. You know, if I'm able to realize that this cat's out of left field, man, adios, dude, and walk on by him, mentally, if nothing else, then he has no power to affect my inside condition, which is the most important thing. If you can learn to discipline your thinking and think on a higher level, you will find it manifest in all areas of your life. On the material plane, you're starting with your comfortability, of course, on the inside, your emotional, spiritual condition, as we call it. Your state of being will get better. And as your state of being gets better, so will all your other circumstances.